Hello, I'm the Lady of Wessex, but you can call me Rosie J, and I'm a curious little writer who likes to try and find out why things are the way they are. Messed up. And I like to do this by diving into strange stories full of mysteries, and legends, and try and figure out what the fact is behind the fiction, and showcase what these timeless tales reveal about ourselves. I like to call this activity story walking, where I uncover and discover life lessons without having to take a step. No matter what myth you may dive into, you will find one that covers the realm of the dead. Whether that be the Nordic Niflheim, or the underworld of Hades, or the sandy plains of the Egyptian Duat. To our ancestors, the void meant to move from one space to the other. The very act of dying was seen as transitional. Although we may compare Niflheim as a sort of Christian alternative to hell, hell or Niflheim in this instance is more of a void. It's dim, misty, and very, very cold. It's not a place of divine judgment. It's more a place of balancing the scales. To qualify for Niflheim, you would have had to die of sickness or old age. You didn't have any children, your achievements weren't written about, and songs weren't made about you. You were a coward or an oathbreaker. All of these things, you would end up in Niflheim. There is no torture, no torment. This is a place where there is no redemption narrative and no reunion. People feared Niflheim because it wasn't shameful. To fade out into the cold and be forgotten was like a second death. Even hell, her physical appearance, she stands with one foot in life and the other in death. She belongs to neither. She represents the temporal, the void, the liminality. She represents that balance. According to Nordic law, if someone had died suddenly or brutally and they had unfinished business, they would become a dragur, a drago, a draga, a ghost. In the Grettis saga, an Icelandic tale about a shepherd named Gelmar who was attending his sheep in a remote valley when suddenly he dies. His death is unresolved and completely isolated. The saga treats his death as a contamination on the land as he returns as a drakur, a ghost. Across cultures, valleys and other natural spaces were considered liminal. The medieval mind saw valleys as passages taking you from one space to the other. These lands were naturally lower and slightly dimmer. They were often places of battles and ambushes and executions, all of these places in folklore that say to be avoided. In Glencoe, Scotland, it is said to be cursed after the Glencoe massacre. The violation of hospitality, betrayal, and blood is said to have stained the land. Believers say that animals refused to graze in certain parts of the glen and weather ships on a hairpin. In Welsh legends, the figure Owain, I'm going to put his name here because there's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce it properly without butchering it, so yeah. Owain rebelled against English rule, and he dubbed himself the Prince of Wales, but he disappeared without trace. History has lots of question marks about what actually happened to Owain, but folklore says that he escaped the valleys, the forests, the mountains and caves of Wales, and has fallen asleep, where he will return when his country needs it the most, which sounds very Arthurian, yes, that he was a real person. And like hell, he reflects the balance of both, where he's not quite in the realm of the living, but he's not in the realm of the dead either. His story shows liminality meeting the temporal. Water and oceans, rivers, and desert were also considered liminal spaces. Also have the Egyptian Duat, which is the sandy plains of which you have to cross in order to reach the field of reeds, as of course if your heart is balanced. And if it is not, you will be pulled into the sand, and just like Niflheim, instead of fading out into the cold, you will just dissolve. It's not about punishment, again, or torment, it's just simply not existing anymore. In the modern sense, we may find ourselves in a strange liminal rabbit hole full of back rooms and more worlds and all these strange transitional places. Corridors, alleyways, hotels, hospitals, even your own hallway that might be creepier at night for no apparent reason whatsoever, right? All of these places are liminal, but unlike our ancestors, we have stripped it from myth and dressed it up in architecture, physics, and psychology. So clearly there's something about the liminal that keeps having us come back, and maybe it goes a bit deeper than that. Maybe it's something within inside us. Swiss physicist Carl Jung believed that every psyche had a shadow self. Think about Peter Pan and how he chases his shadow trying to sew it back on. This describes the internal balance that philosophers and psychologists alike have been discussing for quite some time now. For Jung, the shadow, rather than the presence, is the flaws, our toxicity, the things we hate about ourselves and project onto others, the skeletons in our dusty closet, or the demons we refuse to tame. The shadow self is not an evil thing, but something we need to face. And if it is repressed, it will indirectly express itself, whether through dreams or Dionysian forces. Therefore, by Jungian thinking, the shadow is inseparable, linked and entangled. What Carl Jung calls synchronicities, which is more suited to mysticism rather than psychology and science, physics call entanglement. This is where two or more particles are created and interact with each other and are linked and inseparable. Pixels make up one whole image or an analog TV with the white noise in between the channels. The white and black specks jumping all over the screen. Entanglement shows us that reality is not isolated. It is interconnected, linked even when the connection is unobserved. And even though the medieval mind did not comprehend this, they did understand that events linked to temporal or liminal spaces had a lingering effect. The Upside Down is just the latest version of this concept, presented as a wormhole, a void that is parallel to another dimension, instead of the mythical underworld of the dead. Valley Shadows, the Upside Down, is really about the message of balance. The balance within ourselves and the world we live in. To keep moving forward, even when the road gets dark, which I feel is very applicable in the world that is quite dark at the moment. So be the light instead of sitting in the shadows. But anyway, these stories have followed us throughout civilization. It is the same discomfort that overshadows our uncanny, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like if we were to say that a shadow realm that we can interact with and engage with in our physical reality, probably a tunnel is a good version of the shadow realm. It is liminal, it is transitional, and it's dark, but as the saying goes, keep going until you see the light, right? There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. That's the one. Oh god, what am I doing? Anyway, moving forward, remember, as above, so below, so within, so without. That's why that saying's been around for a few thousand years. But yes, I wonder if the Veil of Shadows is a real thing. Is the Upside Down real? Probably not with the Demogorgons anyway. But that's the video. Huzzah!